their own condition. They change themselves. So you want to lose weight. I mean, it's something I worry about. You want to lose weight, okay? You don't do anything. You eat pizza and burger and chips and this and curry and everything. You say, yeah, I didn't lose any weight. I am getting fatter. Someone will say, Akhi, you majnoon. You're mad. Why you not changing your diet, Akhi? You have to walk. You have to do walking at least. You drive car to the door of the supermarket and you expect to get slim. And you're fighting for the disabled place. So if you don't change anything, the result will not change. Meaning, I want to get married. Have you looked? No. Did you ask? No. What did you prepare? Nothing. MashaAllah. And so what do you expect? Ikhwan, why don't we then apply the same to our religion? And if we're doing the same things, the result will be the same. We want a different result, we have to do different things. So what result do we want? We want Allah to help us, because Allah said in the Quran very clearly, وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Then he said, Al-Aziz, Al-Hakim. The Nasr, victory, is only from Allah, because he used وَمَا إِلَّا, which means not from anyone except Allah. If you want to be victorious, you have to go to Allah. So, and then he said, Al-Aziz, the most powerful. Al-Hakim, the wise. He knows who to help and who not to help. Who to make victorious and who not to make victorious. Who to win and who to lose. And he explained all of this to us. What we want is for Muslims to be strong. And all of us, we know we are so great in number, yet we are the worst in quality. And from history, if you go back to the history of Islam, you find at the beginning when the Prophet ﷺ, Allah helped him in Medina, then he died, ﷺ, then Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and everyone else, until you come to our time, you find that our number is increasing all the time. So it's not to do with number, because if we analyze, we can analyze. This is a simple analysis. It doesn't require computers or anything. We analyze that our number is increasing, but our power is decreasing. Why? Because the number, Ikhwan, in order for it to count, for example, they say China and India. If you divide China and India into million states and 100,000 states, they're going to do nothing. So what the Prophet ﷺ told us is, the nations will come, in Surah Abu Dawood and other books of Hadith, the nations will come and call each other to you, meaning to your countries, to take, to steal, to grab, to whatever, then make laws that say you can't do anything. So, like people call to their qas'a. Qas'a is a big plate or tray which we fill with food, and we say, Ikhwan, come, let's eat. So the Prophet compared it to that. And he said, they will not fear you. Allah will remove fear of you from their hearts. And He will put wahan into your heart, like weakness. And they said, what is this wahan? He said, Hubbu dunya wa karahiyatul maut. Loving the dunya, meaning more than the religion. And generally loving the dunya and hating to die and meet Allah. So the symptom points to the disease which the Prophet identified. When that happens, that means the reason we are weak and the reason we are disunited, not because we politically want to unite on the single currency. And many people, just yesterday I was in Bradford in the north, not Bradford, in the north, and some brother came to us and he said, you know the reason why we have problems? He said, because we are divided. But why are we divided? And the reason we have problems, it's true, we are divided. But why are we divided? We have to not stop at that. We have to ask another question. It's like a doctor saying, you know what your problem is? You have a temperature. We say, I know that. Because we know we are divided. But why do I have a temperature? That is the question. Because if you can identify that, then you can give the appropriate medicine. So why are we divided? Because our religion, we don't understand correctly. Every Muslim says we must follow the Quran and Sunnah. I don't think you can find anyone who says I am a Muslim, except that he says we must follow the Quran and Sunnah. When you come and take the Quran and Sunnah, they understand it differently to you. So our problem is understanding, number one. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, when you see a lot of differing, what did he say? Follow my Sunnah and the Sunnah of someone else. Who are those people? The rightly guided khulafa, caliphs, the rulers. And he called it one Sunnah because after that he said, Abdu alayha, bite onto it. Hold on with your teeth, with your back teeth. Meaning that those two Sunnahs he made one. That means that the path of his and the path of those great people is one, their understanding. And that's what Allah said in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, when He said, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا, if they have believed, or if they believe, بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. If they believe in what you have believed, meaning who? The Sahaba. Then they are guided. So, for that reason, in the Quran and Sunnah we have the answer to that problem. The answer is very simple. The Prophet said, Allah will not remove the humiliation until you go back to your religion. Allah said in the Quran, He will not change it until we change ourselves. Allah also said, whoever opposes the messenger, or he splits from him and follows a path other than the path of the believers, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولِ وَيَتَّبِعْ وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى. Whoever opposes the messenger after the proof has become and the guidance has become clear to him, وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and follows a path other than the path of the believers. Who are the believers whose path we must follow? The Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Because at that time there was no other believer. So we must follow their path. And Allah said, then نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى, we shall keep him in that path he has chosen. وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمْ, and we shall burn him in hell. وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. It's a very bad destination, evil destination. If we know Jahannam, iyadhan billah, we will never want to be even close to it. Even close. People burning, instead of water, too much heat, instead of water drinking boiling water which burns their insides, drinking boiling oil. And this is just one aspect of Jahannam. That's why the Prophet said, a disbeliever, a kafir, his tooth in Jahannam, his tooth will be like the mountain of Uhud, because he has to be so big to withstand the punishment. And because if you have very small something, animal or person, and the punishment is too great, they will die very quickly. But Allah doesn't want them to die, ikhwan. Allah wants them to be punished forever, iyadun billah. So we have to know a little bit about Jannah, paradise, the garden which we want to go to. And we have to know something about Jahannam, because we want to run away from it. And anything that we face in this dunya is nothing compared to Jahannam. That's why when you know Jahannam, you're not worried about problems. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, the poorest person who used to be one of the poorest in this world and had a very difficult life will be brought, but he was a believer, will be brought. He was a believer, I don't remember, I don't think the Prophet said, so that I don't say what he didn't say, sallallahu. The poorest will be brought and dipped in Jahannam. And it will, just for 1 second, it will be said to him, have you ever seen anything bad? He will say, no, yeah, never did I see anything bad. And for him that became nice now. And compared to Jahannam, just one dip. And the Prophet said, this dunya is the Jannah of kafir. Why? And the sijn of mu'min is the prison of a believer. We have to understand this hadith, otherwise we have a direct relation to the topic. Because if we can understand this, then we will prefer the religion. We will go back to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. We will go back to the Islam. Allah said, Al-Islam, which is the Islam of the Prophet ﷺ. We will go back to the Islam of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. And they say a very nice thing happened to Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah when he used to be, for a long time he was a judge in Egypt, senior judge, the top judge. And one day, and of course as a, they used to call Qadi al-Qudat, used to be the top judge, and he was, you can say now, company car, or he had a cart with horses and everything, and he was dressed very well. And one day a Jewish man stopped him, and he said, Ya Sheikh, can you tell me this hadith? Your Prophet ﷺ said that this dunya is Jannatul Kafir, or Sijnul Mu'min, or Sijnul Mu'min, or Jannatul Kafir, as the Prophet said. This is the prison of a believer, and Jannah is paradise for the disbeliever. Look at you, he said, look how you are dressed. You have this, you're very wealthy. And he was very poor, this Jew. And he said, look at me, I'm very poor. I have nothing to eat. And Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said to him, compared to what's waiting for me, inshallah, this is a prison. For a believer, what Allah prepared, it's true, it's prison. And compared, he said, to what is waiting for you, this is Jannah for you. And that Jew became a Muslim after that. Because just, Ikhwan, the importance of alim, look. Then we say we do da'wah, we do da'wah. We need ulama to do da'wah. Why did, in the time of the Prophet, people embrace Islam in crowds? Because they were listening to the Prophet. Why did the people of Musa ﷺ commit shirk when he left? Not in his presence. When he left, they committed shirk. They started worshipping the calf. Because the ulama of tafsir said, Musa ﷺ was the alim, the main prophet, and he knew the answers to everything, and he had, because of that, the help of Allah, and he had the respect of the people. So as soon as he left, or he went somewhere temporarily, they fell into the greatest sin. So the scholars, the ulama of Islam are very important. They are inheritors of the prophets ﷺ. And therefore, we must understand not to attach ourselves too much to the dunya. And if we can do it, we will attach naturally ourselves to the akhirah, to the last life. And the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever makes his hum, his worry, and his aim, the akhirah, the last life. Why it's called the akhirah? In Arabic, it means the last life. There is no life after it. It's forever, subhanAllah. And why it's called the dunya? It's close life, where we live now. And Allah deliberately put us in this place to see what we do. So in the akhirah, the Prophet said, who makes his aim the akhirah, the last life, then Allah brings and forces the dunya to come to him, and the dunya doesn't want to come. وَهِيَ رَاغِمَةٌ. Allah forces the dunya to come because he is not running after, like Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said about the dunya. The dunya, he said, is like your shadow. You run after your shadow, you can never catch it. You have sun, then the shadow. You see the shadow, of course you can never catch your shadow. Because as fast as you run, it runs. Okay? But he said, if you turn away from your shadow, it follows you. And you don't care about the shadow, but the shadow is stuck. And that is a very nice comparison, because the dunya, if you sacrifice yourself for it, then you can't have enough of it. And that's we know. That fact we know, because we see it every day. But if you turn, meaning you only take what is necessary. We don't mean don't work, don't study, don't, no. We mean do what is necessary. But don't make dunya everything. This world must not be our aim. And the Prophet used to make dua to Allah, وَلَا تَجْعَلِ الدُّنْيَا أَكْبَرَ هَمِّنَا. Don't make the dunya, our greatest worry and our greatest aim and what we strive for. So what we need, we must do. Because Allah said, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيا. Do not forget your share of the dunya. What we need to do, we must do. So we don't have to ask anyone. We don't have to get into debts. And if we have any debts, we can repay them to the people. So we have to understand that what the Sahaba radiallahu anhum used to do was, and the reason Allah helped them was because they sacrificed many things to please Allah, and that was their aim number one. That means that we must know what Allah loves and do it, and we must know what Allah hates and leave it. And that is the essence of ibadah. What does ibadah mean? Ibadah means worship. It means the person loves Allah more than anything, and he submits himself to Allah. He or she does what Allah loves and leaves what Allah dislikes and hates. And he loves what Allah loves and he hates what Allah hates. That's why the Prophet said, the strongest part of Iman, belief, is to love for Allah and hate for Allah. So that is the way back. What is the deen? Because the Prophet said, Deenikum, until you go back to your religion. And Allah said, Inna dina Allahi al-Islam. The religion that is acceptable to Allah is al-Islam. In Arabic, al has a few meanings. Al. One of them is the religion that he talked about in the Quran. The religion of the Prophet ﷺ. The religion acceptable to Allah. The religion that the Prophet ﷺ practiced and showed us. That means we must try and learn. If we don't, we must choose the trustworthy ulama. People who know. And they tell us, and generally these are old people who have become known for their following of the Quran and Sunnah with the right understanding and application. And that is the small secret. It's not secret at all. And I made a few examples here of what we must correct. Number one, we must correct our belief in relation to Allah, because that's the first pillar of Iman, to believe in Allah. And the first pillar of Islam is La ilaha illallah. No one deserves our worship except Allah. If we don't understand our belief in Allah, everything else will be wrong. Look, Ikhwan, at many, and I think I gave that example before. Many Muslims say Allah is everywhere. Mostly non-Arabs. But even some Arabs. Alhamdulillah, not many. But mostly non-Arabs. If you say, Ayn Allah, they say, you can't ask this question. Or if they answer, they say, في كل مكان. Or they say Allah موجود في كل وجود. And that belief contradicts the Quran and the Sunnah. Because it's not even a Christian belief, Ikhwan. It's not a Jewish belief even, it's a Hindu belief. And it's not, the Christians don't say God is everywhere, except if they got influence from Hindus. They say the man upstairs. They say God is up there, they say. Many Muslims, they took their beliefs wrongly from wrong people. How can we as Muslims differ among ourselves on Allah and then hope Allah will help us? How? It's not possible. And our difference with non-Muslims is about Allah. Because they say Allah is three, Christians, or one of three. They say Allah has a son, or the son is Allah, they say. Which is, of course, you can't understand. Because it's not the message with which Jesus, Isa ibn Maryam, ﷺ, was sent. It's not that message, as you know very well, alhamdulillah. You know, Muslim children know that. That's a great ni'mah of Allah that we have that kind of knowledge. So, with the difference we have, the main difference is to worship Allah, about Allah Himself, and how we worship. Because they say we worship Allah, they worship others than Allah with Allah. They worship Jesus, they worship Mary, they worship the saints. They say, oh, such saint, help us. It's today Saint David Day, and Saint David is the patron of England, they say. And that someone saint is the patron. Patron, what's patron? Sponsor? No. Patron means protects, looks after. That's shirk akbar. So how can we as Muslims have such beliefs when many Muslims, they put, as you know, some rings with eye. Yeah? Rings, women and men, with an eye, one eye. They say because this is from evil eye, it protects me from evil. It is wrong. We have many Muslims who put things on themselves and they say, this protects me from something. 2 days ago I did khutbah. After the khutbah, one brother came and he was asking me a question. And he had something in the neck. So I said, brother, what is this? He said, this is Quran. So he goes to the toilet with the Quran. He believes that. Who said you can go to the toilet with the Quran? He does all sorts of things with this Quran which he claims. He doesn't even know himself if it's the Quran. But they told him it's the Quran. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. You have to see inside. Many times I opened with different people. It's nothing. Even the word Allah, ikhwan, not written properly. Because jinn tell them to write. Kufr. Kufr, disbelief in Allah. So, they believe that these things help them. They swear by others than Allah. In many countries they say one Nabi. One Nabi. One Nabi. Wa hayatin Nabi. By the Prophet ﷺ. By his life and so on. This is haram. The Prophet said, whoever swears, let him swear by Allah or keep quiet. And he said, whoever swears by other than Allah, he has committed shirk. Because Allah doesn't want anyone to be respected like him. Not our mothers, not our fathers, not even the Prophet ﷺ. And some ulama said, even what some people do in the masjid, they put Allah one side, Muhammad ﷺ another side, the same level is wrong. We don't even need it. I mean, now many places, masajid, they make unnecessary beautification. So the first point I made here to remind ourselves is about Allah. Many people say, Allah said in the Quran, addressing Iblis, Shaitan, Satan, why didn't you do sujood to what I created with my 2 hands? لِمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيَّ. And with 2 hands, they say, doesn't mean hands. Because if we say hands, some Muslims, that means we make Allah look like us. And Allah said, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing like Him. وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. He's all hearer, all seer. And we say, the second part is true. But the first part is not true. Why? Because the Sahaba never believed like that. They believed Allah has 2 hands, just like He said. And He said, بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ يُنْفِقُ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. Allah said, but His 2 hands are outstretched. He spends how He wills. But His 2 hands are not like our hands. Because He's not like anyone. And Allah said, وَيَبْغَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ. And the face of your Lord will remain. The Prophet said, you will look at the face. You will see the face of your Lord, in Bukhari and Muslim. Just like you see the sun, or in another hadith, like the moon you see. Meaning clearly, without any problems. Some Muslims, and everything I say, I have heard and seen, not imagining. I remember a long time ago, maybe more than 10 years ago, I sat with a Muslim brother who said to me, we will not see Allah. I said, Akhi, Allah said in the Quran, He has a face, number one. Number two, He said Allah doesn't have a face. Number two, He said, وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. Many Muslims know this ayah, these two ayat. On that day, the faces will be bright looking at their Lord. He said, no, it doesn't mean looking. I said, what does it mean? He said, it means waiting. And it's true, in Arabic, those of you who know Arabic, نظر can mean waiting. Like Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, فإن كان ذو عسرة فنظرة إلى ميسرة. Then if someone who has a debt, he is in difficulty, then wait until it's easy. But when we have ila, meaning direction, because here ila nadhiratun ila maysara means time. We have direction. The ulama said in Arabic it can never mean waiting. Because in Arabic, when someone says unzur ilayya, he doesn't mean wait for me. He means look at me. And this brother said, no, he doesn't want to accept. I said, Ya akhi, it's in Bukhari and Muslim. He said, there are some weak hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. I said, but it's true, but this is not one of them. This is about our aqidah, it's not weak. So he didn't want to accept. How can Allah help us if we don't want to accept what He said? And that is the greatest problem we have, and that is why I said, the marad, the greatest illness we have is the marad of shubuhat. And we have to get rid of it. The marad, the illness of doubts, wrong beliefs, wrong ideologies. How do you cure it? By knowledge, by correct knowledge, taken from the Quran and the Sunnah with the correct understanding. And that's what we need to do. So what is the correct then understanding of these ayat and ahadith? Just like the Salaf said, they authored books. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah in his time, a lot of Jahmiyyah, those people who follow Jahm bin Safwan, who was a very big mubtada'. He innovated such big innovations. Until now we are suffering from them. One of the innovations he introduced was to deny the sifat of Allah, to deny the attributes of Allah. One of the innovations. And they authored books like Radd al Jahmiyyah, refuting the Jahmiyyah. Imam Ad-Darimi rahimahullah, he authored another book like that. Imam Ibn Battah authored a book about that. Even Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari rahimahullah, when he changed his views, he authored a book called Al-Ibana before he died. Al-Ibana fi usul al-diyana. Clarification about the usul, the most important principles, meaning belief of our religion. And he explained, because now many people believe, they say, I'm Ash'ari. Ya akhi, your Imam changed. Before he died, Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari rahimahullah, he changed, he went back to the belief of the Salaf. Because the Salaf, they said, we believe in everything Allah said and the Prophet ﷺ said, without asking how. How Allah comes down in the last third of the night to the lowest heaven. We don't ask how, He didn't tell us, we can't answer that. And there is no point thinking about that, because we don't know the correct answer. Without twisting the meanings. Like people say, Allah didn't speak to Musa. The Quran said, subhanAllah. How can you go against the Quran? And so on. We will not see Allah when Allah said in the Quran. Not twisting, not negating, and not comparing Allah to His creation. Not comparing Him to humans. So that is the correct belief of the Salaf. And that's what Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he collected in his very small, you you can say, even hard to call it a book. It's a very small thing, maybe a few A4 pages, which he called, and it became known later as Al-Aqidah Al-Wasitiyya. Al-Aqidah Al-Wasitiyya, because it is the text of what the Salaf believed and Muslims must believe as a result of a question from a judge, a qadin, in a place called